Example number 2. Adam made a $250 payment at the end of each year into an investment that earns 6% compounded annually. Blake made a single investment at 6% compounded annually. At the end of 5 years, their future values were equal. A. What was their future value? B. What principal amount did Blake invest 5 years ago? And C. Who earned more interest and why? So let's figure out A here. We don't have enough information from Blake to be able to figure out what the future value of that money is. So first of all, we need to figure out what the future value of Adam's investment is, and then we know that that's the same thing as Blake, because it said at the end of 5 years their future values were equal. So let's set this first TVM solver up with Adam's information. So we know that it is compounded annually, made with annual payments. The future value, we don't know what it is because that's what we're calculating. The payment that Adam made was negative $250. It's actually a positive amount that he makes, but the money goes away from him, so that's indicated by a negative. The present value is 0 because it doesn't say that he made an initial investment at all. We know that it's 6%, and we know that it's 1 compounding period per year times 5 years. So I'm going to call up my TVM solver, and we're going to solve for that future value. So we're going to go into our Finance TVM solver, and I'm just going to put these values in. So 5, 6, 0 stays the same from our last question. Cool. Negative $250 is the payment. We're going to solve for the future value, and we know that the payments per year and compounding periods per year is just 1. So we're going to solve for a future value as indicated by this little dot there. Alpha, enter, and we get $1,409.27. Now I'm going to just move ahead a little bit. It says who earned more interest and why. What I want to do is I want to calculate the interest right now, because Adam's information is right here. As soon as I put in Blake's information, the interest earned will be calculated based on what's in the TVM solver. So when I move over to look at Blake's information, Blake's stuff will be in the TVM solver. So right now I want to think ahead and figure out what the interest for Adam is going to be. So I'm going to go quit this, and then I'm going to clear. You don't need to, but it's just nice to have a clear screen. Finance, and I'm going to click all the way down, sum int. And my first, we start out with the first, and then we end off with the last compounding period, which is 5. So we're going to calculate that interest there. The interest 1.5 is going to be $159.27. Just as a bit of an aside, calculating the interest based on payments is a lot more difficult than the finding the interest collected with one lump sum. You can't just say, okay, $1,409.27 minus 0 or minus 250. You have to consider that there are 5 payments made here. So it's a lot easier actually to use, when we have the payments here, to use our SUMINT function. Cool. All right, so let's figure out what Blake's present value is. So we know that so we're looking at right here what principal amount did Blake invest 5 years ago. We know that the future values after 5 years are the same. So I'm just going to put my future value here as $1,409.27. What's cool about this question is that the compounding periods per year is still annually, it's just 1. 5 years is still the same. Interest is the same too. And present value, that's what we want to solve for. Now, it says that there are no, it does not mention any extra payments that Blake has made. So we're going to go back to old school, to the last lesson, and say payment equals 0, because he just invested a single investment, one lump sum. So let's call up our TVM solver, pull up the finance. Oh, nope. So I'm going to keep that at 5, keep that at 6. We need to come back to our present value. That's what we're solving for. Payment we're going to change to 0 because it's one lump sum. And I am going to put this just to the amount that we indicated here, the future value. So we're going to put in 1409.27. Payments per year and compounding periods per year, we're going to stick at 1. We're going to scroll up to present value, alpha, enter, and we get an amount here of negative 1,053.09. Now remember, it's negative because he had to invest it initially, which means that the money goes away for a time and it comes back. So if I were to calculate the interest for Blake, I could use the sum int here, or I could just say 1,409.27 minus 1,053.09. That's totally fine. And just for the sake of difference, just to remind you that this can happen, I'm going to do that. So interest and we come out to $356.18. So we notice that more interest was actually collected by Blake. So why is that? Well, Adam started out with no money, and so the interest collected slowly. Every 6 months he added $250, and interest added accumulated a little bit slower because Blake had an initial lump sum of a lot of much more money than, say, 0. More interest is able to be collected. So if we were to write an answer, who earned more interest? Why? Blake. Because he had more principal to make money from. Initially. Now there is that sweet spot where putting in payments, smaller payments over time, could eventually make Adam more money. But when we talk about the scope of just that 5 years, Blake actually made more interest.